First and foremost, I'd like to give all praises to Yahawah, Bahashem, YAHAWASHI, Bahashem, Rakah HaKwadash, and double honors to the elders, apostle, Jim, medicine, rule well. Salute you, brothers, pushing this word in truth, sincerity, and strength, power, Yahweh, YAHAWASHI. Right? I got a lesson here, and I'm going to start off with Deuteronomy 12 and 9. For ye are not as yet come to the rest and to the inheritance which the Lord, meaning Yahweh, your power giveth you. I read that again. This Deuteronomy 12 and 9. For ye are not as yet come to the rest and to the inheritance which the Lord, meaning Yahweh, your power giveth you.
We came to Levittown and we found the model house, and we walked in and we looked around, and of course, in the eyes of a young man who was raised in the ghetto, so to speak, it was an interesting experience, interesting lifestyle, seeing all the new modern conveniences. Very fascinating.
Eugene Burnett came home with almost 1 million other black GIs. They had fought for the country in segregated ranks. They returned hoping for equality and the American dream.
This is Sirach, meaning Ecclesiasticus in the Apocrypha, chapter 34, verse 1. The hope of a man void of understanding are vain and false, and dreams lift up fools. I'll read that again. This Sirach, Ecclesiasticus in the Apocrypha, chapter 34, verse 1. The hope of a man void of understanding are vain and false, and dreams lift up fools. When you dream, you're asleep. So listening to him speak, that let me know that he's spiritually asleep. And it's a lot of Negro, Latinos, and Native Americans in the same mind frame as this man here on the screen. They are spiritually asleep. They got the attitude, if Esau can do it, I can do it. If Esau living like that, I can live like that. You are spiritually asleep. Okay?
For many, that dream was a new home for little money down and some of the easiest credit terms in history.
I went up to the salesman. We're interested in your home. We're interested in buying one. And what is the procedure? Is there an application to be filled out? So forth. So he looked at me, looked around, and he said to me, he says, listen, it's not me, but the owners of this development have not as yet decided to sell these homes to Negroes.
Sirach, Ecclesiasticus in the Apocrypha, chapter 36, verse 11. Gather all the tribes of Jacob together, and inherit thou them, as from the beginning. O Yahawah, Bahashem YAHAWASHI, have mercy upon the people that is called by thy name, and upon Israel, the elect on this side, whom thou hast named thy firstborn. Verse 13. O be merciful unto Jerusalem, thy holy city, the place of thy rest. That's the Negro, Latinos, and Native Americans rest. We will not have these problems once we get to the kingdom of heaven. The kingdom of heaven is going to be on earth, and the Negro, Latinos, and Native Americans will not have these problems. The Most High will grant you all your desires and more than you can ever imagine. Okay? You just have to seek Him. You have to seek YAHAWASHI and not follow and chase the dreams of these heathens. Okay? Because while you're doing that, you are spiritually asleep. Because that's when you dream, when you're asleep. This Sirach, Ecclesiasticus, in the Apocrypha, chapter 36, verse 11. Gather all the tribes of Jacob together and inherit thou them as from the beginning, O Yahawah, Ba'ashem Yahawashi. Have mercy upon thy people that is called by thy name, and upon Israel, the elect on this side, whom thou hast named thy firstborn. O be merciful unto Jerusalem, thy holy city, the place of thy rest.
As though it wasn't real. You can't imagine. But for someone to come out and actually tell you that they can't sell to you. You know, I was really on an up. Man, look at this house. Can you imagine having this? And then for them to tell me because of the color of my skin, I can't be a part of it.
The FHA underwriters warned that the presence of even one or two non-white families could undermine real estate values in the new suburbs. These government guidelines were widely adopted by private industry. Race had long played a role in local real estate practices. Starting in the 1930s, government officials institutionalized the national appraisal system, where race was as much a factor in real estate assessment as the condition of the property. Using this scheme, federal investigators evaluated 239 cities across the country for financial risk.
So that those communities that were all white, suburban, and far away from minority areas, they received the highest rating, and that was the color green. Those communities that were all minority or in the process of changing, they got the lowest rating.
This is what you call redlining. Okay? All that red is redlining the so-called Negro, Latinos, and Native Americans, which are the true biblical Israelites. So they got you mapped out, and they know we're not to put money into. They just let it all fall apart. So they got you mapped out. They're against you. They're not with you.
And the color red. They were redlined.
And you see down at the bottom where the red is, it got hazardous. So wherever you move to, you Negro, Latinos, and Native American, so-called white man looks at you, which this is so-called white man. I say that because so-called mean not really correct. They not white, they red. Okay? And their biblical nationality is Edom. They descend from Esau. That's their biblical nationality. But they're redlining in that red area. They look at that as hazardous. So they're not going to put money into the communities where you live at. That's why it's like that. So-called white man look at you and your conditions as hazardous.
As a consequence, most of the mortgages went to suburbanizing America, and it suburbanized it racially.
The racial logic adopts the principle that an integrated neighborhood is a bad risk, is a financial risk, that an integrated neighborhood is likely to be an unstable neighborhood, unstable socially, but therefore also unstable economically.
When the white residents of 8 Mile Road in Detroit were told they were too close to a black neighborhood to qualify for a positive FHA rating, they built this 6-foot wall between themselves and their black neighbors. Once the wall went up, mortgages on the white properties were approved. Between 1934 and 1962, the federal government underwrote $120 billion in new housing. Less than 2% went to non-whites.
I can understand an individual, depending on his environment or his family or whatever, being racist, but for your country to sanction it, give him tools to do that, there's something definitely wrong there.
Okay, I got another one. And she said, your country, this is not our rest. Okay, our power is in Jerusalem. That's our land. That's where we belong. Okay, that's where we belong as a people. Negro, Latinos, and Native American. And we will not have these problems when we go back to our homeland. Okay? When we go back to our homeland, we will not have these problems. So let's see if they changed from 1964 up until now. Let's see if they did any changes. Let's see if Esau, so-called white man, changed. Okay? We fast forward into the future. And let's see what's going on here. Right?
It's been 10 years since the economic recession, and credit has slowly returned for most Americans. By 2016, the number of conventional mortgages had risen 95% since the housing bust. And yet, some Americans are still being left behind. The gap between white and black ownership is wider now than it was in 1960. Tonight, the first of a two-part series, results of a year-long investigation from Reveal, a program produced by the Center for Investigative Reporting. As Reveal's Aaron Glantz reports, black and Latino home buyers in some cities seem to have a harder time getting a home mortgage.
Hey there. Hi, Aaron. Brooklyn native Rochelle Farul moved to Philadelphia in 2015, hoping to buy a home here.
I was like, I'm going to try this thing, you know? I've got a lot of gumption.
She made a good income as a computer programmer and had enough for a down payment. Her potential lender, Philadelphia Mortgage Advisors, was encouraging at first. But the lender worried her income could be unstable since she was a contractor. So Farul suggested her mother co-sign.
Because my mom is a retired school teacher. Specifically, she worked in New York City for 35 years. Her pension is great.
But Farul was told that wasn't enough to offset her mother's student loan debt from a PhD.
I got shot down left and right.
Lenders look for applicants with debt payments roughly 36% or less of their income. So Farul got a new job with the University of Pennsylvania with a salary allowing her to afford the 2-story row house she found a short walk from the university.
I wanted this really badly.
But that still wasn't enough. When she applied for a loan again, this time with Santander Bank, they also rejected her.
The Sirach Ecclesiasticus in the Apocrypha, chapter 24, verse 11. Likewise, in the beloved city, he gave me rest, and in Jerusalem was my power. I read that again. The key word is rest. That's where we're going to have rest at, and that's where we're going to prosper at in Jerusalem, in the kingdom of heaven. I'll read it again. This Sirach, Ecclesiasticus, in the Apocrypha, chapter 24, verse 11. Likewise, in the beloved city, he gave me rest, and in Jerusalem was my power. YAHAWASHI is going to be with us when we in Jerusalem. Therefore, we're going to prosper abundantly.
Her credit score had plunged 50 points because of a single delinquent electric bill. She paid the bill as soon as Santander flagged it, but the bank still said no. Farul started to suspect this had to do with her race.
You know, black people in this country have to be twice as good to get half as much. And I couldn't even get half, you know? They wouldn't give me anything.
Turning Farul down because of her race would be illegal. It's been illegal for 50 years.
Fair housing for all.
No, they doing it. That's just how they talk. But they've been doing it, man. They know what they're doing, man. And they'll say it's illegal. Nah, this is Edomite supremacy, man. This is the rulership of the Edomites. Okay? They know what they doing. And you Jakes looking at me, Jakes meaning short for Jacob. Okay? Jacob is looking at these Edomites and thinking they can do what they're doing and have what they're having. Nah, it don't work like that. This is our punishment. This is what we have to suffer for breaking the statute, laws, and commandments. And all the things that you want, we will get that in the kingdom. We in America for punishment. And this is why the things that you see on this video is happening to the Negro, Latinos, and Native Americans. But they dreaming. In other words, they spiritually sleep.
Is now a part of the American way of life.
The 1968 Fair Housing Act was a response to redlining, a racist lending practice where the federal government colored minority neighborhoods red on maps, labeling them hazardous to lend in. In 1977, President Carter went further with the Community Reinvestment Act, requiring banks to lend to qualified borrowers in low-income communities in cities where they had branches. But these laws have not solved the problem. After the 2008 recession, banks tightened their lending standards. 10 years later, while lending has returned for many Americans, Reveal's analysis shows what looks like modern-day redlining is showing up across the country.
This Micah 2:10. Arise, ye, and depart, for this is not your rest. Because it is polluted, it shall destroy you even with a sore destruction. I read that again. This Micah 2:10. Arise ye and depart, for this is not your rest. America is not you Negro, Latinos, and Native Americans' rest. Okay? It says, because it is polluted. America is polluted with the bloodshed of the Negro, Latinos, and Native Americans. It's polluted with homosexuality. It's polluted with bestiality. Okay? It's polluted with GMOs. It's polluted with drugs in the water and lead in the water. That's just to name a few. It's polluted. It shall destroy you even with a sore destruction. So when the Most High throw down Esau's kingdom, which he's going to do it, let me read it, because it's prophecy, because that's what we do here at Great Millstone, is prophesy and bring out prophecy. So this is Malachi chapter 1, verse 1. I'll read into it. It says, the burden of the word of the Lord, meaning Yahawah, to Israel by Malachi. I have loved you, saith the Lord, meaning Yahawah. Yet ye say, wherein hast thou loved us? Was not Esau Jacob's brother, saith the Lord, meaning Yahawah. Yet I love Jacob. So the Heavenly Father and his Son loves the children of Israel. But we rebelled as a people, so we getting punished. So that's why these things are happening to us. But he loved us as a people. He loved us. But on this side, he only going to deliver the elect, because the elect is the only ones going to come back to him and not believe in this American dream. The elect is not sleep. Okay? It says, verse 3, I hated Esau and laid his mountains in his heritage waste for the dragons of the wilderness. Esau's homeland is Mount Seir, okay, south of Jerusalem. That's where he's supposed to be. Whereas Edom, so-called white man, that's his biblical nationality, saith, we are impoverished, and we will return and build in desolate places. So Esau came over here to the Americas and had us in slavery and built up this place. Okay? And it produced Edomite supremacy. Okay? Thus saith the Lord of hosts, they shall build, but I will throw down, and they shall call them the border of wickedness, and the people against whom the Lord, meaning Yahawah, have indignation forever. So Esau was impoverished, and he said he will build in desolate places. So when the Most High put Esau, the so-called white man, in poverty, he had a proud spirit to tell the Most High, look, I'm going to build in desolate places. And that's why when you read over here in Micah 2:10, when it says, even with a sword destruction, because the Most High is going to throw this place down of America. Salaki about that. Okay? So
we have
continue.
Places like Washington, D.C., places like Tulsa, Oklahoma, Santa Fe, New Mexico. These are the places where they are more likely to be denied because of who they are.
Nearly 50 years after the Fair Housing Act, revealed data journalist Emmanuel Martinez found some significant racial disparities.
We looked at nearly 31 million mortgage records, nearly every mortgage application filed with the government in 2015 and 2016. In 61 metros across the country, applicants of color are more likely to be denied a conventional mortgage.
Banks don't share credit scores. They say that is proprietary. But by using other information the government requires be disclosed, Reveal found statistically significant differences by race.
My analysis includes 9 different factors. Among them are the applicant's income, the size of the loan, and specific information about the neighborhood that they're looking to buy in. Here we have the likelihood of denial. So black applicants in Philadelphia are almost 3 times as likely to be denied a conventional mortgage.
Reveal found this pattern in dozens of cities. Philadelphia was one of the largest. That means that a black applicant and a white one with similar financial profiles will likely have very different outcomes. This wasn't true for just one bank, but for the lending industry as a whole. The Mortgage Bankers Association wouldn't go on camera for this story, but in a statement it said that the data available under the Home Mortgage Disclosure Act is not sufficient to make a determination regarding fair lending. And the American Bankers Association said that without access to borrowers' credit history, the data cannot paint a complete picture.
Unfortunately, credit score and an applicant's total debt-to-income ratio aren't part of this publicly available data set. But it's those same financial institutions that have lobbied from keeping it away from researchers, from academics, from journalists like me who want to study these disparities.
I believe that we are better off having more information released in aggregate on credit scoring and those folks who get loans to make sure that there is no discrimination.
Republican Senator Tim Scott of South Carolina says releasing that data would make the industry more transparent. But it wouldn't solve a different problem. He says credit scores penalize people of color. He's introduced a bill to fix that.
So what we're trying to do is bring to light all those folks who are paying their bills.
So you got Jake thinking that he can be a part of the American dream and thinking he gonna help the situation. Nah, that's all a smoke screen. That's all a smoke screen to keep you Negro, Latinos, and Native American sleep. That's exactly what that is. They didn't fix it in 1964, and they ain't gonna fix it in 2018. It's not going to work in this society with Esau. It's not going to work. Point blank, period.
Bills on time, and yet it's not showing up on their credit scores. Your electric bill, unless you're doing something bad, doesn't show up. Your cell phone, unless you're doing something bad, doesn't show up. People of color are typically the folks who will be disproportionately impacted.
In almost every city in America, African Americans and Latinos were denied home loans at higher rates than whites. We could not statistically prove a relationship between race and denial in many. But in 61, including Philadelphia, our analysis found race played a role. Neighborhoods with very few loans had the highest proportion of Black and Latino residents.
You see their beautiful homes up here, and people work very hard to maintain their properties.
Angela McIver heads the Fair Housing Association of Southeastern Pennsylvania. In the era of
Eve always trying to help Esau. To help our people continue in that illusion. It's not going to work.
redlining, the government shaded this neighborhood, Germantown, blue and green, marking it as a desirable area to lend in. Over the decades, the demographics shifted from white to black, and today, banks deny more loans here than they approve. You see,
this Lamentations 4 and 17. As for us, our eyes as yet faileth, for our vain help in our watching, we have watched for a nation that could not save us. I read that again. Lamentations 4 and 17. As for us, our eyes as yet failed, for our vain help in our watching, we have watched for a nation that could not save us. Only YAHAWASHI is going to get us out this condition. So with that, Shalom, stay strong and search the scriptures.